All right, y'all, you're broke and you want to learn Chinese, Mandarin Chinese in 2025. Here's what you're going to do. This is me. I'm somebody that I speak Mandarin every single day. I speak at least 4 languages every single day, Mandarin being one of them. And I used to be a video game translator and an academic Mandarin translator. So when a professor wanted to have, like a book translated or article, for a journal or a section of a book translated, I'd get it done. And it didn't matter if that was nursing, economics, law, geophysics, etc. The list goes on, I'd get it done. So, I've got a little bit of experience when it comes to Mandarin. And I'm going to lay out here, again, this is, you're broke, you want to learn Mandarin. If I had to relearn Mandarin in 2025 with the resources that we have, tools that we have available, how would I go about doing it in 2025? This is what we're going to get at today. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, then stay tuned. This is going to be information dense. I'm going to try and cover as much as possible. I challenged myself literally just to take half an hour and get as much as I could, and it ended up being very information dense. So let's see what I got to. First, as a foundation, you're going to need a textbook that you're going to be, you're going to want to surround yourself with as much content as possible so you're getting as much input as possible, but you want to have a textbook that you're progressing through. Now, you don't want to get distracted by going and getting like analysis paralysis, trying to get the best textbook out there. An average textbook, a good textbook, is going to be good enough. There is going to be an ideal though, because like you could go to a local university, state university, something like that, good university in your country, and say, hey, what are y'all using to learn Mandarin? And you could go seek that out. But the thing is, ideally, you want to have that textbook digital. And I'm going to get into why. But first, how do you get the best digital textbook that you can without spending any money? Because sure, you can get the best textbook that somebody said somewhere on some forum, and pay a whole bunch of money for it. You could do that, but the best free way that we got, so you can get started right now, is you're going to talk to your local librarian. And you're going to see what kind of digital options you have, because they may have options there, and they may be fine to get you kind of started while you're trying to get things together, because maybe you need and you could get like that best textbook via interlibrary loan. Use your library as much as possible. But if you're trying to get a good digital textbook, you just want to get the best that you can that's digital, that you can get access to on your computer, and you want to convey that to your librarian. Hey, what do I have that I can use on my computer, what resources y'all have available that are going to be digital for a textbook for Mandarin? And so you get that, maybe it's through some service and Hoopla or Libby or something, whatever it is. But you want to be able to access it on your computer, because you want to be able to take content from that and just turn it directly into flashcards. And you're going to be using that textbook, you're going to be progressing through it, and you're going to be using a flashcard program like Anki. I use Anki. I highly recommend Anki. There are a bunch of videos on YouTube telling you how to use Anki, and just extolling, singing its praises. Now, so you get a digital textbook and you got it on your computer. You got that done. Okay, you want to schedule out. You know how busy you are, right? So you want to make sure that you're enjoying this process. You want to make sure that you're not creating too much stress for you. So you're going to take this textbook and you're going to say, whatever fits your schedule, I'm going to, the first chapter, I'm going to spend a week on it, and then I'm going to move on, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, see what works for you. Once you be comfortable moving on to the next one, change your schedule based on your real life schedule, because again, you don't want to make it stressful. You want to keep enjoying this whole process. So schedule that out and follow through that progression so you can be building your grammar and vocabulary foundation, which vocabulary a lot of times is just like a means to practice the grammar that chapter is focused on. And a lot of times they start off with an introductory conversation that may not be super realistic, or it may be outdated. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, and you, like that. And so that may not be something that you typically say, but it is a means to get started a conversation. Just don't spend too much time on that. You can move on, because you want to get at the grammar and building that up and the vocab that you're going to need to go to use in conjunction with that grammar as quickly as possible. So you get the textbook, get it digital, get access to it on a computer. Presumably that you have a computer. You can also do this on your phone. But computer, honestly, see if you can get access to a computer somehow, like at your local library, even if you do not have one. So, because you want to be able to, computer just makes it way easier. Computer makes it way easier so that you can go and take stuff and from that chapter you got for that week, you're gonna take it and you're gonna throw like all the content basically from the chapter into Anki decks, and you can divide them up: vocab, grammar, example sentences. You're gonna want example sentences. You do not want to just have words. You don't want to just memorize words, right? You want to have actual sentences that you're working through. So you can see that language and context. Okay, that's very important for your brain to help to figure things out. Okay, so you're going and doing that. You're working through your textbook. You're processing stuff, and by processing stuff, I don't just mean individually putting it into Anki. You're throwing it into a Google Sheet, front and back, and then you're gonna hit download CSV, and then import on Anki. You're gonna hit import and import it in the deck that you need. It's a learning process. Once you get used to it, though, it's quite simple and it's very useful, because once you get that stuff in there, then you can use TTS, text-to-speech, to add audio to your cards in batches. You can do it in a collection, it's called. And for Chinese specifically, now that we've got the textbook out of the way, I haven't told you how to find a textbook anyway. What I would say is, hey, you're gonna wanna, this is informed by my own experience, this is informed by what very well-known universities do. And so the two together have led me to say that, hey, for Mandarin, you can front load all of the difficulty. You can do the traditional method, but a lot of people, they do not get very far with Mandarin. Most people do not. Front loading it looks like this. From the get-go, you're going to be learning it's a new sound symbol relationship for an alphabet, probably going to be pinyin, and then so you're going to be confusing yourself with the new sounds versus the sounds that you already know for Latin alphabet that you grew up with for English or whatever your local language is, maybe Spanish or something, etc. That's your first language. So, if you're not a first native English speaker, by the way, you will get confused with English as well. But the point is, you're gonna front load that sound symbol relationship to these new, to these characters. You're gonna front load tones. You're gonna front load learning characters, and then learning the grammar, and then stringing stuff together, and then trying to pronounce this stuff individually and string it together into actual phrases and sentences. I would say, hey, front load as little as possible. Instead of, and this is gonna sound like I'm telling you the opposite right now, I'm gonna say, hey, for the characters, don't learn, if your goal is simplify characters, learn traditional first. There are universities out there that, for like the first 6 months or a year, they literally have all of their students learn traditional first. And that's because it's a lot easier to go from traditional to simplified than simplified to traditional, and you get that out of the way. And so you don't have the situation, which is what I had, which is I only learned simplified. And so then when I'm fluent in the language, but then whenever I'm like online and I came across an article in traditional characters, I would be like, I can kind of understand this, but no, I'm just gonna go see if I can find the same thing in simplified, like that. And when I was learning classical Chinese, I didn't know, like when I first started learning classical Chinese, I didn't know traditional characters, so I would just try and find the same, text in simplified characters, which can be done. But you're missing out on so much written content that's out there that only exists in traditional Chinese. And this includes like forums, blog posts, YouTube videos, maybe even podcasts, because they may have their titles in traditional Chinese characters and you can't read them. So you're probably not going to go and explore that content. So you're closing yourself off from that content. And so I found that I would always just go and try and find a simplified version of content because it was too much of a struggle to read traditional, until I forced myself to learn traditional. And when I did that, I was like, wow, I wish I'd done this from the beginning, because this is just, I can totally see how this is a lot easier to learn this first than to come and then go and learn simplified, than vice versa. It's not like it's impossible. It's not super difficult, but it's easier. It's definitely easier, and learning traditional helps you to appreciate the beauty of artwork as well, because a lot of artwork and poetry that you find in museums is going to be written in traditional. Now, you've gone and gotten your textbook. You're not front-loading learning characters. In addition to doing traditional and then simplify later, I meant to say, hey, you're not going to front-load learning characters. Hold off on learning characters. Focus first on learning the sound symbol relationship, which is normal. But don't go then directly to go and learning characters. What you're going to do is stay in that alphabet that you're going to learn sounds and relationships for, and use that to get to a place of fluency, and then you can go back and learn the characters later. And there's value to each approach, but learning the characters really slows you down at the very beginning. When you need to be focused on, because I've learned so many languages, you want to focus on getting to a place of fluency in the language. And then you can come back and learn those characters. It's going to be a quicker road, because the learning the characters slows you down a lot, and it makes it so a lot of people aren't going to have as much success as they otherwise would if they just gone for fluency first. There are universities out there that do this, I know 100%. They just go with, like pinyin first. And Chinese kids, they just go effectively with pinyin in a sense first before they learn the characters. They do learn the characters slowly, and they learn radicals, but they learn pinyin so they can transcribe the sounds. And there were ancient systems they used before the pinyin, where we're not going to go into that, but you had to learn characters so you could read them in combination. And so, but this is all getting at the point of, you're also going to not front load learning pinyin. You're going to leave pinyin for later. You're going to learn bapomofo first. Even if you want to learn simplified and you want to learn pinyin, go use bapomofo, which is used in Taiwan. It was previously used in the mainland. And this is bapomofo juyin fuhao is just, it's like pinyin, but it's some Chinese, they took characters and turned them into letters, basically. But the logic that it uses is different from pinyin. Pinyin has some issues with the logic that it uses to create some sounds, so it's got kind of a deeper orthography, which means that it's assigns more than one sound to some letters. And so because of this and the fact that the Latin alphabet is something that you're already probably super familiar with, so you've got a sound symbol relationship system, or one or more if you speak more than one language, associated with those characters. So I would say, hey, rather than do that and confuse yourself, which I've seen so many people do in native English speakers, native Japanese speakers, etc., native Spanish speakers, they do this. So to try to help you with this and to get the added benefits that I discovered from doing this, because I learned them later, bapomofo, you will help yourself in learning that sound symbol relationship. You will also help yourself to go and get this added benefit of, you're going to go on your phone, you're going to download an app called Pleco. This is the best dictionary app that's out there. There are others, but and definitely I'm not sponsored by them, but of course Pleco is the best one that I found on the phone. There have been some other ones that were pretty good, but for specifically Chinese, Pleco is going to be the best one that you have. And what's going to be nice about this is that you're going to take advantage of the fact that you went ahead and learned bapomofo, like I said, and then you're going to go into settings in Pleco. You're going to change it to traditional from the get-go, right? And you're also going to go and change the transcription system from pinyin, which is the default, to Bopomofo, because by changing it to pinyin, to Bopomofo, you make it so that you're not going to be constantly distracted by the pinyin when you're trying to work on learning the characters later. This is something that I discovered. Every single time that I would go into the dictionary and I'd be looking at something new, and this is especially true, like, I did this after I learned traditional. So, right, I'm already fluent. I learned with Simplified, and then I came back and I learned traditional. And I found that when I was trying to learn traditional, I'm really trying to focus on the characters so I can help me in the process of getting them down. But the Latin alphabet, I have so much experience with it, just like all my life, that it automatically attracts my eyes. So you learn Bopomofo, you put it on Pleco, and that way, and you put traditional characters on Pleco, and that way, your eyes aren't going to be naturally attracted to one or the other. You're gonna benefit from this by, one, helping you to learn Bopomofo, and two, it's going to help you in learning the characters later, because you're not going to have as much experience with it as you will obviously have with Latin-based alphabet, as everybody watching this video most likely already has. So I said you're not front-loading the characters, but you're doing traditional first, whether you want to learn Simplified or not. You don't want to front-load learning characters at all. You don't want to front-load learning pinyin, so instead you learn Bopomofo and you use the dictionary. Now, you also probably don't want to front-load tones, and this is one, because I want you to first focus on that sound sim relationship, and with the Bopomofo, getting used to that. You can learn the tones in the next phase, or you could even push it back further if you want to. So for the next phase, once you've gotten that sound sim relationship, you've gotten comfortable with it, you're going to want to go and transition to trying to get to fluency, spoken fluency. You want to be able to get to a place where you can hear, you can have like a conversation with people, but you, more importantly, you want to get to a place where you can string together thoughts and be understood. And so if pushing back, really working on your tones is something you still need at that stage, you know how busy you are, so if you need to, do it. Don't front load the difficulty, keep it enjoyable, keep having fun, keep learning how to express yourself, and you can come back and work on the tones after that, and once you got into fluency, if you need to. So, it may be an unusual approach, but this basically is an approach that's going to get you there in a very, we'll say, it's not very stressful way, and it doesn't front load as much difficulty. So you got a lot of complexity being pushed back is the primary feature of what I'm describing here. Now that I've gotten this out of the way, you've got your sequence of content, you've got a way that you're able to process it via Anki, what you're working through. You also want to surround yourself with the language as much as possible, so you can get as much input as possible, so your brain can be working and sorting things out, right? So this is in addition to while you're working through that sequence of content with your textbook and processing stuff with Anki. You also want to be working on your 4 skills. Your 4 skills are listening, reading, speaking, writing. You've got 2 that are productive, speaking and writing. You've got 2 that are receptive, reading and listening. So do make sure to pay attention to listening. Listening is often the one that's most neglected. So we're going to talk about listening first. And listening and reading are the ones we're going to go into the detail the most, because the other 2 you have to put them to the test to be able to you have to write to get better at writing, you have to speak to get better at speaking, but the 2 will play back, they'll help you with each other. Listening and reading. Listening first. So you got 4 main skills, right? And I said you want to surround yourself as much as possible so that you're basically you're trying to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible so that you can progress as efficiently as possible, basically, but also your brain needs to be able to parse things, like to decode things and figure out how things work. For listening, right from the get-go, you're going to be working on that sound symbol relationship. I would recommend that you go to Anki and see if you can find a deck that's like the top, like 1,000, 2,000, something like that, words, which by the way, this is very useful anyway, is to look for high frequency language in language learning, and you could mine sentences effectively for those top words as you're working through them. Pay attention to those as you're working through your textbook. There are all ways that you can optimize, but we're not focusing on optimizing today. That's just a suggestion for those that know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. And so that aside, if you can get that on a deck on Anki, where it's got like the words, ideally maybe with sentences, and ideally with IPA, so that you can see when things are not being pronounced in the same way, or you'll get used to the symbols that are used in the language, because there are only so many symbols in the language. And so you're gonna get that, and you're gonna shadow it. When you do your Anki, regardless if it's this deck or any deck that you create, you wanna shadow what is said. So like you see a word, read it aloud. Listen to it, try and repeat it based on recreate that pronunciation as best as you can. And so that's going to be a deck that should be preloaded that you can find. You go to shared decks and you can find that type of stuff and download it onto your phone or device, whatever device you're using, and you can work through that. You don't want to overload yourself, by the way, with this sort of stuff. You don't want to do 2,000 words in a day or a month. You don't need to do it like that. You can do what you're able to do, and don't burn yourself out. Along with listening, I should definitely mention that, hey, when you go and first get exposed to a language, you want to listen to it. Even if you don't understand the stuff, you go to like YouTube and listen to it so you can get used to the way, like the rhythm of the language, the way people are stringing things together. So you can hear like the dialogues and the words, like the pronunciations from your cards and from your textbook, but you want to see like real conversation that's not as like this more natural than what you'll find in your textbook. You want to see what that looks like. You want to hear it, I mean. And I would highly suggest that you go and look into like what are the different accents that exist for your language, be it Mandarin or something else. For Mandarin though, you've got basically Northern Mandarin and Southern Mandarin. For Southern Mandarin, there are different varieties influenced by local dialects. And then for Northern, there are less so until you get up to like Northeast China, and then you've got some more pronounced differences. And you've got Beijing dialect, which is standardized, which is in the north. Now, go and listen to these dialects and see if there isn't one that kind of vibes with you. You can go for like the standardized dialect, and that's fine, but maybe you really like the sound of Guangzhou Mandarin, for example, or Xiamen Mandarin, or what have you. Maybe you really like that. You like Northeast Mandarin. So go listen to that, learn about the place, learn about the accent. I mean, not the dialect. Learn about the accent, learn about the place, because that's gonna help you to appreciate it better, and that's gonna help you to build a deeper connection with the language, and gonna help motivate you. And in line with this, I would highly recommend that you go and, even if you need it for like work, go and explore the culture, the food, the music, etc. Find what it is, something that you like about the language, and use that to help motivate you to continue. Because basically at the end of the day, as much work as you put into it, if you eventually just stop trying to progress, that's where you plateau. That's basically where you more or less stay. So when it comes to language learning, if you keep working at it, you're just going to keep getting better. All right? So, listening. You've gone and you've gotten this deck. You've gone and found ways to motivate you. Along the way, you're going to want to find, eventually you're going to want to find like podcasts. You may want to use Pimsleur early on. You may want to use, which you may be able to get via your library. You may want to use YouTube videos that are on specific things that you're interested in. Highly recommend that. I would highly recommend that you go and do that. Try and find YouTubers that are talking about things that you like, or they're exploring places that you're interested in, or they're, what have you. So find stuff, what you like, and use that. to enjoy the language. And then like podcasts, if you like tech podcasts or whatever, you can go and find those. Ideally, you're going to want to have the text available for those, and that's just going to make it easier to process things later for when you're like listening to stuff and you're going to pop it into Anki. And there are probably some other points that I feel like I should make at this juncture, but I don't want to drag this out. And so let's move along to reading. For reading is extremely important. There are two types of reading: intensive reading and extensive reading. Intensive reading is when you go and you like really study a text, you look up what everything means, you create sentences for everything, put in Anki, do the whole 9 yards. Extensive reading is where you get to a point where you're going, and it's what you usually do when you're reading in like your native language. You're reading something to learn about it, and if you come across new words, then you can probably intuit what they mean from context, and if you really need to look something up, then maybe you will. That's where you want to get to. And so you need a path to get there as quickly as possible. And I want to say, hey, you don't want to use short stories. You want to use long form works by the same author. And you don't want to do kids' books because you want to get to interesting content as quickly as possible. So your goal is probably eventually to get to reading books, but in order to get there, a shortcut that could help you along the way, particularly early on, is going to be going to Wikipedia and looking at articles on things that are of interest to you. And an example of that is if you like Japanese cuisine, French cuisine, Thai cuisine, something like that, then you're going to want to, if you want to focus on that, or video games or what have you, if you want to focus on that, you can. And there's so many cuisines out there, right, that exist, and there's tons of articles on Wikipedia about that. And you can go to Wikipedia, and there's a little a language button that allows you to change the language of the article to another language. And I don't just mean like translating it, but because not every single article has this. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go and hit that button once you've gotten to like French cuisine article. You've opened up French cuisine on Wikipedia, and then you hit that button and you choose Chinese. Now for Chinese, there are going to be a bunch of different options. You got Cantonese, and then you're going to have like, you'll say like traditional Hong Kong or maybe Taiwan. You can click on either of those. It's probably going to be okay. Probably should be fine to use any of those articles. I typically use those, but like the options may vary just based on whatever page you happen to be on, depending on how specialized it is. It could be, you could have limited options, you could have no options of Chinese depending on what it is, because like if you go and look up like, I don't know, Navajo cuisine, maybe there's not anything in English, for example. Just throwing out super granular example. Okay, so that's an example of a path that you can use is cuisine, because you can go French and then German and then Italian cuisine and be reading them. You schedule these out like the chapters of your textbook. Maybe you'll do like one or multiple a week. And then as you go through each one, you're going to find it's going to get easier and easier to read this stuff, because you're going to accumulate. First off, you want to choose something you're already interested in and knowledgeable about, by the way, because you already know what's important about the topic at hand and what to pay attention to. So you're kind of, as you're with the textbook, you're building up like your foundation, your core of being able to understand everything. For this, it's like you're extending into a specific field your ability with the language, so your ability to understand it and interact with it, so that then you can, once you've read enough articles and based on what you already know, you can get to a point where you're able to really do extensive reading on whatever the subject matter is that you've chosen. And eventually, once you've gotten enough exposure to that being written and you expanded your ability with the textbook that you're progressing through, you'll be able to start having interesting conversations with actual people, which you're hopefully doing, because moving right along from, we've done listening, reading, now we'll just go on to speaking. We'll do writing first, then speaking. Writing and speaking kind of go hand in hand. These are not going to take very long, because I'm going to try and wrap this up here for y'all. It's getting a little long. Now, writing. You're going to go online and you're going to try and find something like a website or an app, like a pen pal one, where you can write letters to people, or an app like Hello Talk or Tandem, where they're going to have moments that you can post. And what's nice about these is that, one, it gives you time to compose what you want to say, and two, it gives you the ability to post stuff that people are then going to come and they're probably going to correct you and say, hey, this particular thing was more accurate, or they're going to respond to what you say, and so that can be a means to initiate conversation and maybe get a partner that you can write to and also speak with. So like I said, writing and listening are going writing and speaking are going to go kind of hand in hand here, because for speaking you're also going to use like this sort of app, and you're going to start trying to find someone that you can interact with on the regular, and you need to schedule a time. And it's probably going to be at least 30 minutes, probably ideally more like an hour, but you know your schedule. But you do need to keep in mind that however you schedule it, the other person's probably going to want to have an equal amount of time where you're helping them with the language. So maybe you do 2 times a week, and one day you do only one language A, and the other day you do language B, or you split the time. Depends on what y'all work out, but do schedule a time, so that, because otherwise a lot of times it can end up being a waste of time. You need to come up with something reliable so that you both can benefit. All right, so that's kind of speaking. The writing, I was going to add on to it because speaking, that's about kind of all there is you're just kind of doing the same thing that you're doing with writing. So with writing, except you're speaking it with people, and you can record messages and but you can also have conversations. It just depends on how comfortable you are. You can send voice messages, and a lot of this stuff has transcription functions so that you can just like hit it and it'll give it back to you. Now, for the writing, I need to add on that as you're working through your chapters, you want to make sure that you're using the grammar and the vocab, not just to create sentences for your Anki, but you also want to use it to put it into use in these conversations that you're having, or these posts that you're making online, in moments or what have you, so you're actually using it to interact with people. And so you just kind of keep building up on it in this way, and you can write a journal as well to help you with this if you're not comfortable interacting with people. But moments, I think, is a good way to get towards that. If you feel like you need a journal first before you get there, it's all up to you and what your schedule allows and what you're comfortable with. I know that there's more that I could go on about, but the video's getting a little bit long, and I've covered all the bases at this point. So if y'all have any questions, you need me to elaborate on anything, feel free to put it in the comment there. I know that there was more that I could say, but this is kind of like a good first pass. I'm going to come back to this at the beginning of 2026 to kind of do like a year in review sort of thing for 2025. And so if there's anything you'd like to see included in that video, or if you've got anything that you feel like really worked for you, let me know, and I can talk about it, which it kind of reminds me, like I said, hey, use Bapomofo. I forgot to mention, hey, you want to definitely be taking this digital content from that textbook and throwing it into like an AI and telling it to, hey, add Bapomofo for these characters in addition to this text. Don't just replace it. Don't just give me the Bapomofo back, because you're going to put those on the cards, on the Anki cards, and you're going to be able to use text-to-speech with the Chinese characters. I think that I forgot that earlier. All this is off the top of the dome. So I just wanted to make sure that I covered all the points. And like I said, let me know if there's anything you thought I should include, or if there's something that has worked for you. And until next time, remember there's going to be another part of this video, in a sense, where I do that year in review of 2025. This is kind of a rough first pass. So until then, y'all take care now. Keep learning, keep having fun. Remember, it needs to be fun. It needs to be fun. Don't make it stressful. Until next time, y'all take care now. Bye-bye.